months of relative stability, long queues at petrol stations have once again become a familiar sight, causing frustration and disruption to daily life. The resurgence of fuel queues in parts of the country, including the FCT, have sparked widespread concern and raised critical questions about the underlying causes and potential solutions. Questions like what factors have contributed to this sudden shortage this time around? How are citizens coping with the impacts on transportation, businesses, and household activities? And most importantly, what steps are being taken to address this issue and prevent it from recurring ever again? On this episode of Nigeria Today, our guest shall be providing answers to some of these questions as we delve into the pressing issue of affecting millions of Nigerians across the country. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Nigeria Today. I am Eucharia Clinton. Welcome. Now, joining us to discuss the return of fuel queues in parts of the country is an energy expert and a public affairs analyst, Olabode Shomi. It's good to have you in Nigeria Today.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Now, also joining us in the studio for the conversation is the National Treasurer, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, Umar Babakano. It's good to have you in Nigeria Today.
Good evening. Thank you.
Now, I'll start with you, Olabode. What was your experience like? I know earlier on I spoke to you and you told me something. So what was your experience like today trying to,
Okay, I think I've been having a bit of a challenge since Sunday, which is yesterday. And I still have not been able to fill up. Not because there are no filling stations per se, but the queues are a bit obstinate. So, and if you have certain things to do, you have to make a choice on what is priority. So at the moment, I don't yet have the luxury of being able to wait for so long on the queue. But that said, at some point in the next few hours, I need to do that.
Okay. Now, Umar, just like we said in our intro, after enjoying relative stability, all of a sudden the queues are back. Now, tell us, what is the cause of this particular one?
Generally, this is more or less a chain. Whenever you have any challenges within the chain, so these are the resultant effects. I know some times ago, the NNPC had some challenges in terms of maybe transshipment because of the rough waters and the rest. So that was what translated to some slight, because I cannot say maybe all the depots has no fuel, but some has none at that time because their mother vessels were their daughter vessels were the mother vessels but cannot reach it out for them to load. So we had a vacuum then. So generally within the the chain, if you have a vacuum, you have to like double your efforts before you can be able to fill up the vacuum. So that's the original thing there.
Now, the reason why I'm asking you, Umar, is because when we have certain situations like this, the finger is always pointing at the independent marketers, especially for those of you that run some filling stations, and your filling stations are already locked. And even if for those that are open, you see the price is soaring. So, what could be the reason of the soaring prices right now? Has the prices been increased?
If the demand is high, normally the price has to go up. That's number one. Number two, whenever it doesn't have product, so there are so many people who are not marketers, not even independent marketers, that jump into the market just to exploit what the situation, so to say. Generally when you have any challenges, they are related issues that comes with it. So these are all part of it. Just like you are saying, everything comes back to independent marketers. Everyone is not doing the right thing, so to say. Because I can recall there was a time when I was in one of the stations, so the thing went a bit sour that all of us have to be deployed to stations to make sure maybe some things are done right, or maybe let us see it for ourselves. When we got there, I went to one particular filling station. So I was trying to arrange some things within the filling station. Coincidentally, I pay attention to about 2 or 3 more cars. So I realized that all of them has more than half a tank. And now, okay, fine, let me check around. I checked within that filling station. I think I counted about 37 vehicles. More than 20 has over half tank. That half tank might be maybe 2, 3, 4 days sufficiency depending on your movements. So, but because of the panic, they just like panic because immediately they see a queue, they panic, and then of which is normal, it's human. But I think some things too should be taken, gently and with caution, so to say.
Yeah, I'll take you up on your comment that some things are not done right. But before then, let me talk to the energy expert. Now, Olabode, we are once again faced with the situation of having, to face difficulty in accessing, fuel. When we were very hopeful, that we'll be having this product continuously without disruptions, when the deregulation of the sector, at least we said, would heave a sigh of relief. But the situation is different. What's your perception about this?
Okay, so like Umar said, it's a supply chain. So when you have a supply chain, there are components parts of the supply chain, which is the same for any system, whether it be an agricultural supply chain, whether it be a drug supply chain, even sports. So because when you talk about football, there is a way people grow from teenage to become footballers and all that. So in this case, there is the production of the downstream products. There's how it is made available to the man on the street, which is the final man. And there seems to be a disruption in it. I think what we can ask and demand as citizens is that there should be a redundancy for every time an aspect of the supply chain is disrupted, because supply chains can be disrupted. There's a reason why your car has an extra tire. It's not saying that when you move out you are going to have a flat tire, but in the event that you have a flat tire, there must be a redundancy for it. So if transportation between the mother vessel and the daughter vessel can be an issue, as we have experienced, it is incumbent upon everyone to ensure, both NNPC and the regulator in this case, to ensure that there is a redundancy in the event that such things happen the next time. Because when we talk about advanced countries and all these countries that have all these nice systems in place, it is because when they experience problems, they don't just allow the problems to go. They solve it and provide a solution such that when it occurs again, it doesn't become a problem. So for us, we have realized that this is a problem. So next time, what are the things we do? What will be the extra tire that will be in place such that when next there is a thunderstorm or rough waters, it is not going to affect the people. It will just be something within the supply chain.
Now back to you, Umar. You talked about things not going right. Just like you mentioned about having maybe will I say extra. That's the redundancy speech you made there. Now he mentioned about things. You also talked about things not being done the right way, which means there is a possibility that some persons are also hoarding the product.
Anyways, yeah, people sometimes claim that, and there are in some instances. I can recall the other 2 times that we had such issue when we like formed a task force within IPMAN. So we found about 2 people guilty of that. But sometimes, as I said, you cannot fault it. There's no way you have a perfect system, because I can recall that day we visited over 40 stations. We only had 2 that has more than 5,000 liters. So as far as you have more than 5,000 liters, you are not selling. We can call it hoarding. So that one is there. That's part of it. So that's why I'm saying everybody is not doing the right thing. You, a motorist, instead of you see maybe an issue like this, instead of maybe you have a half tank, maybe after coming to office you go to other of your other issues. So you should reduce the traffic if at all it's possible, because it might be possible. That's why sometimes I see the reason of even deregulating the product. You see some people will just put fuel in the car, running up and down the town, virtually sometimes doing nothing. To come back to what he said, and even at the system, that's for the system, as in maybe the suppliers, who is more or less only the NNPC. we need to have a spare tire. People like us in Ipman who owns over 80% of the retail outlets, and who are more or less, because you cannot get all these major marketers anywhere apart from the state capitals. That's the highest you get. So we are in independent marketers. We are down up to the grassroots. So, and the allocation given to us sincerely is not enough, because I can say it may be less than 20%, if at all, it's up to, it is given to us. And moreover, we have over 80% of the retail chain.
Okay, now they're still talking about that you mentioned spare tire. I'll take you up on the issue of the spare tire after now. But Umar, in some time in May, the NNPC had come out to say, look, we have enough products. It's sufficient to last us for over 30 days. But then, well, I would say then 30 days had passed, no doubt. But it said over 30 days. So we're expecting that the product should still be available. So what would you say about this?
I would say that authoritatively, but at least being someone who is also in the industry, I agree with them, because having 30 days sufficiency is the one you have within the depots.
Over 30 days sufficiency.
Exactly. Within the depots, the daughter vessels, and the mother vessel. So that one, from what we can see, or maybe what we know, all those ones are there. So, but that's the point I was trying to make. Whenever you have a vacuum within the chain, it does not consign them with your 40-day sufficiency, because your 40 days sufficiency is on the petrol is useless to you if at all it is not from the pump. Even if I'm carrying it on the tank and it is parked in my station, you cannot fetch it. So whenever you have a vacuum, maybe sometimes I can recall there was a time we had last year we had a Lokoja flood. That's another issue that brought that was the issue that brought that scarcity then. Okay. I know, like today, this time I know confirmed that there were rough waters for about 3 or more days, because I know so many vessels were lying to take products from the mother vessels down to the depots. So this is what brought this one. This is what ignited it. And whenever you have issues like this, that's why I say we are not doing things right. Whenever you have issues like this, so many people jumping into it just to exploit the system. Of which, if I say that independent marketer is the least who will do that, simply because generally he does not have anything to do apart from selling that fuel. So why should he hold the fuel? Instead, he wants to sell as quickly as possible to go and get another one, so that because before scarcities like this, I know some stations that sell maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000. Best stations we have maybe quite okay. We have some stations that sell more than 50, 60,000 or so. So, but when you have issues like this, the least station sells 10,000 liters. So why should you be holding the product? After all, then you sell 2,000 liters. Today you are selling 10,000 liters. Why can't you sell as quickly as possible to go and get another one?
Okay. Before I let you go, is there an intention to increase the pump price?
That one I can't say. But for me,
because right now some of the stations, the filling stations, are selling for 720, as much as 720.
It is anyway. Even though it's not yet really deregulated, but Mr. President said it's deregulated. So if at all I can justify getting fuel at a higher rate, it's better for you to buy even 800 than going to queue for maybe half a day.
But why say for 800?
I'm just giving you an example.
Okay.
I know most of the stations sells, the highest station that sells here is nothing less than 670, 675. So, but as I told you, as you said, there are some stations outside that sells more than that. But I'm sure since I was not out of town for this week, so I cannot even maybe say that yes, but that's obtainable.
We got some feelers actually from outside the state that some persons are even selling as much as 800, but we don't have
it's possible. It's
We
possible.
can't.
Yeah, exactly. So
really
you need to see it then before you say it.
I bought for 750 on Friday.
Okay, where?
Somewhere within the central area.
Within the central area.
I mean, for obvious reasons, it will be best to mention it off camera. But I think the key thing, which is also important, is that there are some things that legislation can do. In other words, you can use a law to effect it. But there are some things that can only be done by a change of culture and orientation. And I'll give you an example. If there's a particular office and people have a habit of eating on their tables there, you can't just overnight, especially if they've been doing it for years and decades, you can't just overnight pass a law. You have to reorientate them first on the fact that it is not professional and it's not the best thing to be done. There is a thinking among Nigerians that it is fair to shortchange the system and put the people under pressure as long as you are making some money. Because one of the things he has said is that left to the independent marketers themselves, they want the system to flow, the supply chain to flow, because that helps business. But he says that anytime there is scarcity, there are unscrupulous elements among us who jump into the situation, take unfair advantage of the situation, and make a buck. Of course, maybe there are one or two marketers too, but that's a completely different story. So just like people sabotage pipelines that carry our crude oil, people sabotage the efforts of power plants just for them to be able to say the government is not working. People need to understand that when it comes to the national good, it needs to be left alone. That is not something that you can legislate. You can, yes, there are laws that does that, but the laws will not force the people, because if the majority of the people support a cause, there's no law that can. If, I mean, for example, if there are hooligans or thieves operating in an area, and for some reason the people in that area see them as Robin Hood, the police cannot catch them, because those in that area will be supported. So we, as a people, also owe it to ourselves to reorientate ourselves the way we look at things that are for national good. No law can do that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And we'll take a breather here and listen to some Nigerians on the issue of this gas. Don't go away.
I left home very early, as early as 4 a.m. I couldn't get fuel until about 12 noon. That was yesterday.
Nothing has improved, because when he started, there are more filling stations selling fuel. But the way he's looking at almost all the filling stations that we're selling on Friday and Saturday, most of them are out of fuel. No, we are just hearing that government is, NNPC is owing marketers.
I've been here for the past 30 minutes.
Actually, I can't tell the reason, despite the petroleum motor spirit is costly.
As at 2 days back, there were no queue. There was no queue. But as you can see today, we just came even to buy for school buses. We went round many stations we couldn't get.
From my side to here now, I think I passed about 20 filling stations. They are all closed.
Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today, and we're looking at the return of the fuel queues in our filling stations. And of course, I have with me a member of IPMAN and an energy expert here in the studio. Two gentlemen, by the way. Now, Umar, you had the reaction of the people there. You know, sometimes even some persons have, accused the independent marketers of diversion. So I want you to talk about this issue of, diverting products, because we are supposed to have, some form of, some fuel, at least to wait until these issues resolve. But
yeah, anyway, as they said, you said some accuse independent marketers of diversion. Diversion is a relative term. We have some diversion, like now, when we have enough fuel. We have marketers who have 50 trucks lining sitting down, whereas they have even they have 50 stations. They can pump into their 50 stations and have extra 50 trucks stranded. And we independent marketers had some issues. Before a year ago, a truckload was about 8 million. Out of a blue one night, it became 30 million. So some of our marketers are almost maybe out of system, out of the market. So sometimes in such cases, if I told I know you have maybe those trucks parking and you know me and you can guarantee, you sometimes give me maybe a truck for me to go and offload in my station so that we can all sell together.
Okay, so let me be a little bit specific. Is there a possibility that there could be diversion even outside the country, diverting outside the country the products?
As I said, these are all people who are not marketers at all, exploiting the system, and people like us who are in within the country, inside the country. You hardly say that thing authoritatively if I told you are not there for yourself, and people like us, all responsible people who are not into that business will not even dare go near that place, because maybe if they say it's Umar, so we only hear stories the way you hear, so but you cannot rule it out. You can't rule it out because sometimes that is something that you always hear about, and if I told there is nothing like that, it couldn't have been said. So sincerely, I can say you can't rule it out.
Okay. Now, Olabode, you mentioned the spare tire. I want you to be more specific on the spare tire issue. We should have spare tires when dealing with this issue, because we are really looking at ways we can beat this trend, because it's becoming recurring, and sometimes people feel, can this ever go away? So
basically, the spare tire is just an analogy for redundancy. In other words, so redundancy speaks to the fact that to have a solution in the event an incident happens. So for example, there's the presidential convoy. In that convoy, there's a dummy vehicle. There's an alternate vehicle in case anything happens to the president's vehicle. It goes like that. Then there are people who, in their houses, they have an extra of something, maybe an extra plate in case the children break plates. So those ideas are redundancy ideas. The idea or the acknowledgement that incidents can happen. So the perfect example is the spare tire in the car. The spare tire in the car exists in the event that you have a flat tire.
For this fuel.
So for this fuel, what we are saying basically is that there are components of the supply chain. There are aspects, there are bottlenecks in the supply chain, and each bottleneck has the potential to cause this scarcity. So what we are basically saying is that for those things that can cause the scarcity, let there be redundancy for it. So in other words, in the event that the Meteorological Society, Nigerian Meteorological Association, the organ of government, yes, has said that the whole of next week we have thunderstorms. So if we are going to have thunderstorms the whole of next week, does that mean that we are going to experience the same thing for that long? So there has to be solutions to this, and that the responsibility for thinking out the solution is resting on the industry players and the regulator.
So I'll have to stop you there now. I'll go back to Umar. Umar, in 30 seconds, what is the way forward?
Yeah, first thing first, we should try, even though it's not like a quick solution to it. Maybe we have to be, independent of refining capacity. Because if I told the refineries are working, you don't have issues. My trucks does not have issue with thunderstorms, but a vessel has. So and maybe the immediate solution to it has already been taken, because as so far I can recall, I think on Wednesday we had around 50 or so trucks. On Thursday we had the same thing, but on Friday we had over 100 and something. Saturday over 100, because the exercise had been doubled up just to make sure at least it has been beefed up, just as the other.
So when are we expecting everything to normalize?
No one can dictate future with certainty apart from God. So, but inshallah, anytime soon, as I said, because even now, if you see around, you can see so much stations are having fuel.
Anytime soon, it can be as from tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow next, because we are having much product at the depot.
Yes, we are really looking forward to that.
Sure.
With that, we'll wrap up today's episode of Nigeria Today. Very big thank you to Olabode Shomi, an energy expert and public affairs analyst. And also we had Umar Babakano is the National Treasurer, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine.
And thank you for being part of the program. Don't forget, Nigeria Today airs every weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can also check out this episode and others on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Once again, thank you for watching. I'm Eukaria Clinton. Goodbye.